trimester. Second trimester is arguably my favorite. If you haven't been here before, it is just a time when, first trimester, you're going through so many big things and it's exhausting. So you kind of feel like you just want to sleep the entire time. And a lot of people, they feel a lot of nauseousness, a lot of sickness, and it's just, first trimester can be a little bit rough. That's not for everyone. Second trimester, on the other hand, tends to be kind of overcoming that mountain of quite a few of those beginning obstacles. For me specifically, I tend to get that natural energy burst back during second trimester. Now, when I say natural energy burst, I don't mean you're gonna feel like you just had a wonderful latte of caffeine and you're ready to just take over the world. But you do get that kind of just natural energy that you need to get you through the day to where you feel like you can do things and you're motivated, again, to do things. And, a lot of times during first trimester, you just aren't. And with all the moms that I work with, I tell them, during that first trimester, really lean into that state of rest as much as you can. You can't just not do everything. But the things that you can set aside and save for later, try and do that first trimester. And most of them, I like to save for second trimester. So while we have all that extra energy, we need to use it. So when you're preparing, throughout pregnancy, you're preparing for not only labor, but you're also preparing to have a baby. And I argue that the baby part is way more preparation. We tend to get very caught up about going into labor and birthing a baby, but I promise you, that's only 1 to 2 days for most situations, and then it's going to be over. But then you have a baby for forever. So really spend a lot of your time thinking about what are some ways that you can prepare now to have you more prepared for when that baby's here. A few of the things that I like to do in second trimester and things that I'm currently focusing on during my second trimester, one of them is food prep. So I've talked before about food prep in one of my other videos, and it is just such a big part of, I think, postpartum. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about food prepping. There are companies you can work with that specifically work with postpartum moms, and they'll prepare really nutritious meals for you, depending on where you live and the situations that are accessible to you. Some of them will deliver it directly to your house. This also depends on your budget. When you have somebody else preparing those meals for you, it's gonna, be a difference financially than if you are to do it on your own. Personally, I like to make my own meals, and a lot of that is just because I know what I like. And during second trimester is when I really try to lean into freezer meals specifically. A lot of your freezer meals, they do so well for easily 6 months, depending on what it is that you're making. So we have made it, when you're in the second trimester state, to where you have less than 6 months for when that postpartum starts. So you can start doing a lot of that food preparation now and have it ready for when baby is here. Now with all, freezer meals, food preparation, always make sure I always am careful to label exactly when I made what and label what it is. If you just throw it in the freezer, you are not going to remember months from now what meals are what, because as soon as you freeze them, they all kind of look the same, especially if you're freezing like broths or soups or different things. Just trust me, label everything. I use masking tape personally, and then I will just label what the meal is, and I will label the month and year that I prepared it. That'll just give me a good timeline of which things to eat when. It helps you just kind of put things in a better order so that those older meals you can eat first and then work your way into the newer ones. That sounds kind of complicated, but I promise it's not. It actually helps substantially the better you are at labeling. Trust me, pregnancy brain is so real. You are not going to remember what you made. So food prep is a really big one. There'll be more food prep that I will do later on in third trimester. But for my freezer meals, I try and do a lot of them right now because you honestly don't know what your third trimester is going to look like. In the perfect world, third trimester, you're still gonna feel great, you're still gonna move great, and you're still gonna have that energy to get things done. But you never know. So it's always a little bit better if you start kind of knocking out some of those tasks now. So you really want to think about what are some other tasks that you can knock out now in preparation for later. And another one that you can kind of start with, it's going to feel early, but I promise you it's not, is some of the laundry for baby essentials. So you might be getting new clothes, you might have new outfits, you might have old clothes that you're pulling out of storage, you might have clothes people have given to you or that you're thrifting, whatever it is that you are doing to prepare for baby. I highly recommend thinking about maybe starting to get some of that washed earlier rather than later. You can always wash it again later. You know, if you want that fresh smell of laundry like the week before you have a baby, that's amazing. But I have had countless moms who make it to, 36 weeks, 37 weeks, and they still haven't washed any of those baby clothes. And by then, a lot of times you don't really want to do it. And it's just, it sounds like such a little thing, but we all know that, going through pregnancy, you already have other loads of laundry that you have to do, just general house upkeeping. You've got the bedding, you've got the bath stuff, you've got your general clothes, your spouse's clothes, if that's your situation, your other kids' clothes, if that's your situation. So you already have this, growing mountain of laundry. What if we go ahead and get baby stuff ready now to some extent? Any new clothing, I always wash before putting it on my baby. That's just a preference for myself. And really take into consideration what you are washing your baby's clothes in. My goal is always to have the least amount of ingredients possible in that, washing detergent, but still have it be effective enough that it can handle. I actually wash all of our things in our entire house in the exact same detergent, one that is baby safe and can handle my husband, and it can even handle my dogs, and it can handle situations. This is baby number 2 for us, and with baby number 1, it was able to handle everything except for some of those really extreme explosive diapers where you have blowouts all over the clothes. And when those situations arise, you can always have something else that really helps fight with, those deeper, more intense stains. I promise you it's not every outfit. That was just a few that we would kind of run into, and you might have to lean into something else. But there are still cleaner options for that as well. You just sometimes have to put a little bit of extra work into it. So the whole point of this is just to say that laundry can often be something you can just start knocking out now. Maybe baby blankets, maybe burp cloths, maybe, if you're doing cloth diapers, get some of those, just ready and prepped and clean and baby ready. That's a great second trimester activity. Another one that I prioritize right now is any organizing, cleaning, rearranging, things that are kind of weighing on my mind that I would like to get done before baby arrives. Don't save that for third trimester. So in my previous videos, a lot of you already know that I am a chiropractor. I work with families, I work with moms, I work through pregnancy. I've seen literally all of the things in the years that I've been practicing. And one of those things that I see pretty frequently is moms trying to do too extravagant of things in that late term pregnancy and you can really throw your body off. And you don't want to throw your body off right before you birth a baby. So anything that's kind of out of your usual routine, any spring cleaning that you're trying to knock out, fall cleaning, depending on when you're trying to have your baby, cater this to your situation. But for me specifically, I really want to organize my closet. Second trimester, half your stuff doesn't fit, and it's not going to fit for a minute. The rest of pregnancy, I'm just growing, which is amazing. Don't hate on the weight gain. I love the weight gain. I easily gain 40 pounds every time, and I'm fine with that. But I like to go through my closet and go ahead and kind of pull all the things that already don't fit and put those into a container and just label everything, pregnancy brain, I've already told you, but label it as kind of pre-pregnancy clothing. That way, when you get into postpartum, immediate postpartum, you're not gonna wear your pre-pregnancy clothes. Most people. Occasionally I do have some people, but most people, you're not immediately wearing your pre-pregnancy clothes. You shouldn't want to. You need to be comfortable. Wear things that feel good. So pulling all those clothes out just kind of helps me be more organized. That way, I don't want those clothes in my way when I'm trying to find something to wear, because if they don't fit me, I don't even want to look at them. So I like to pull all the outfits that they don't fit right now. And that's literally anything that doesn't fit right now. Put it into storage and save that. Like I said, label it and just put that somewhere for later, and just keep it accessible. Within a couple months after postpartum, you might be back into wearing those things and ready for them, and it's easy for you to find it, easy for you to pull it, and just pull it back into your closet. So that's one of mine. But just think of any kind of cleaning or rearranging or organizing. If you are decking out a nursery, maybe think about getting that started now. I know it feels early, and maybe it is early, but maybe just knock out some of the tasks that you can now. And if you wait and push those kind of things to third trimester, you really need to prioritize delegating that to someone else, especially furniture building or hanging things up, like hanging curtains or any overhead movements that just aren't your normal routine. You don't want to save that for when you're like 35 weeks plus. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just listen to me. Don't do it. Have a friend do it. Have a family member do it. Have your spouse do it. Have literally anyone else do it if you put those things off until later. In addition to like deep cleaning, I've had moms completely throw their body off just cleaning their bathroom. And that's kind of like them getting down, scrubbing a floor. Like third trimester, you don't do it. You don't. You find other ways to do it. You find extendable ways to where you can wash while you're standing and in a good position, and just go with it. It's a temporary season, but second trimester, for the most part, you can still do some of those things. Now don't go wild. This is just little projects around the house that you're thinking about kind of knocking out, but things that are really out of your ordinary, I would delegate even now. Other activities that I like to do second trimester, for us, we're planning for a home birth again. I've spoken about that in a few of my previous videos, and then I have some more coming up. So if you like hearing about home birth or birth planning, or kind of more natural minded birthing, working with a midwife, any of those things, make sure you stick around, because I have more videos coming about our some of our adventures that we have had and some that we are still planning to have. But one thing I like to do in preparation for home birth is, so since this will be our second one, with our first one, I had a set list of things that I wanted to make sure we had in the house. And I'll make a whole video on that, of preparation just for home birth itself. With this being our second one, I already have pretty much almost all of those things here. So the second time, I'm just gonna re-go through that list, double check where everything is. It's been a minute since it was where it was supposed to be, so I want to kind of congregate it all to one spot. I like to kind of get like one tote and put all the birth towels, all the birth rags, all the birth, like I said, I'll go through the whole list. It's an extensive list, but I kind of like to put all the supplies in one spot and make sure that I have everything that I need, because a lot of times you need pretty specific things and you don't want to wait until 35 weeks plus to double check your list and then panic if you're missing something and you've got to scramble to get it. Like, just don't wait. So that's another really good one. If you're planning on a birth center birth or a hospital birth, you can go ahead and start being mindful about your birth bag. Now, that might be a little bit less of a need for now than home birth. You could probably wait till 3rd trimester, but at least start thinking about it. You know what I mean? Maybe go ahead and make a list now. Talk to some other moms who have done hospital births. Ask them what they really loved, and just at least kind of get your list going. You don't necessarily have to pack that yet, but just start preparing. Another big one for 2nd trimester, this is specifically for any of my first-time moms. Absolutely. Anyone who already has children and can still pull this off, you should also prioritize it. But a big one is self-care. You really, really, really need to lean into that. And it's something that I have to remind myself of all the time. And for me, self-care during pregnancy, Epsom salt baths are like the best thing. It's like a warm hug that just makes your body feel so good and you sleep so much better. So Epsom salt baths are a really big one. With my first pregnancy, I was doing Epsom salt baths probably every other night. And I would be in there for like an hour and it was glorious and amazing. I'd light candles. I would have the whole 9 yards. Your first pregnancy, you can do that. 2nd pregnancy, this is technically our 4th pregnancy, but 2nd baby. This time around, I've got a little one who runs around and requires a lot of attention. So taking a bath for an hour every other day, it just doesn't happen. But it's not to say that it can't happen. So that's been a conversation that I've had with my spouse of, hey, this is something that I really need to prioritize right now. It not only helps me feel better physically, it just helps my mind better too, because I feel like I'm taking that time for myself, just doing something for me. And we've just kind of talked about coordinating it so that, his schedule can be really erratic, but he has prioritized that so that I can, my goal right now is twice a week. And twice a week is really great. I'm so happy with that. So try and find, self-care that works for you and start prioritizing that right now and carry that into 3rd trimester. I think that's so important because, taking care of your body, I know this is the chiropractor in me talking, but I can't help it. But taking care of your body makes such a big difference on how not only you feel right now, but how you're going to feel over these next couple of months. The more you prioritize that, on the front end before problems start to arise. I'm not saying they're going to. Some people just magically they don't. But for most of us, we're overworking our bodies. We're having terrible posture. We're just not, doing the best for self-care. And, especially during pregnancy, when we're going through all these shifts and we're going through all these changes, if we aren't careful about taking care of ourselves, it adds up really quick. And I've worked with a lot of moms who 3rd trimester is just a big struggle. A lot of times people don't find me until they're 30 plus weeks. And, that whole chain of events has been building up for 30 weeks. And then we try and work and backtrack and get them back to where they're feeling good. And it's so much easier if you kind of tackle it on the front end. You stay on top of it. You stay on top of how your body's feeling, how your body's progressing, and it just progresses so much nicer. So, find a chiropractor who works with pregnant women. Find one. They're very specific, Talk to them about Webster technique. That's something you can call the front office. Ask them if they have a provider who is certified in Webster technique and is familiar with working with pregnant moms, does it frequently. that's the kind of chiropractor you want to find. It can just really, really make your pregnancy different. If you're in Nashville, find me, depending on when you watch this. But as of right now, I still see patients at home, and I love it. I love it. I love seeing the difference that it makes and the difference in the outcome for how that pregnancy goes. I want moms to have the most wonderful experience ever. That's always the goal. Other things to prioritize second trimester. Let me think where we went through the list. Do a lot of your education right now. I did a post about books that I love. If you haven't seen that video, just go find it. It's just books that I love that focus on home birth, focus on positive birth stories, focus on midwifery, all things kind of in my wheelhouse. But if those aren't your vibe, find books that focus on, you know, the kind of pregnancy, the kind of labor, the kind of postpartum you are envisioning, and start reading those now. You know, don't wait till the last minute. You want to be as educated as possible about not only the changes your body is going through, but also the decisions you need to make throughout your pregnancy. There are a lot of decisions you have to make. And the more you know about, you know, how to make those decisions, you know, you want to weigh out the pros, you want to weigh out the cons, you want to educate yourself as much as possible. You know, that's my personal view. I think we should be as educated as possible about things not only happening to us, but also for our child that, you know, is currently growing and will eventually be here. So education is such a big one that I weigh into, and you don't want to wait. You know, it can be a lot of information sometimes. So start now. Start reading about creating a birth plan. Start reading, I'll make a whole video about that. Start reading about some of the informed decisions you need to make. Start reading about some of the interventions that we have coming up and some of the testing that we have coming up. How do you want that testing to be done? And what decisions do you have when it comes to that testing? And I'm gonna have to make a lot of videos the more that I talk about this. Maybe I'll make a testing video next. I've got quite a few tests coming up, so I'll cater a video to that as well. But you want to educate yourself on this so that when your provider is asking you what you want to do, you have a good idea of what do you want to do. You know, what is your decision and what feels best for you and the outcomes that you are seeking. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, but if I think of some other things, I'll add them in the description. There are so many things that you can do in second trimester. Like I said, you have that natural energy boost. Use it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't do too much. Don't feel like you have to do it all right now. But what are some things right now that you can get done that you don't have to save for third trimester? Because even though it can often feel like it's moving slow, you'll be surprised because sometimes third trimester kind of evaporates. You don't want to leave yourself with this huge to-do list of things that just never got done. Try and think about, you know, be mindful of what are some of those things you want to knock out before baby's here. What are some things that you can get done, and see what you can do. But don't overdo yourself, you know, give yourself some grace, but at the same time, go get some stuff done.